Hello, welcome Dr. Sushma Singh this side. Today in Unit 15, the middle class, we are going to start our lecture with modernity and middle class in contemporary India. We live in modern times that are witnessing rapid changes in the technological, economic, political and social realm. Microwaves, DVDs, palm top, computers, cloning, genetic manipulation, and so on all appear to collaborate how much more technological advanced contemporary society is in comparison to the society of the past. Today's world appear to be peculiarly dynamic, a world which is in the process of constant change and transformation. According to Marshall Berman, to live in a modern world is to live in a maelstrom of perpetual disintegration and renewal, of struggle and contradictions, of ambiguity and anguish. Essentially, modernity signifies the destruction of the past form of life, values, and identities, combined with the production of new ones. One of the major outcomes of this has been the emergence of consumer culture or the consumerism, whereby the culture is constructed through consumption, not just production. Consumer culture is bound up with central values, practices, and institutions that define modernity, such as choice, individualism, and market relations. Primarily, this consumerist ideology involves a process of innovation, of constant turnover, and novelty. Extending viewpoint of scholars such as Simon and Campbell to present times, it can be stated that along with money making, consumption of goods has become an end in itself. Fundamentally, both of these represent a break from tradition. In the 20th century, we witnessed consumer culture reaching its apogee in the West. Within this contemporary consumer culture, what has developed is a lifestyle connoting individuality, self-expression, and stylic self-consciousness. Most often, the term consumption and consumer culture are used interchangeably, but a sociological analysis reveals a definite distinction between the two. Two important features that distinguish consumer culture from consumption are constant turnover commodities with emphasis being laid on newer and changed version of goods. One consumes not because one needs something, but to be in fashion. A generalized consumption. It does not remain confined to the upper echelon of society, but becomes all-pervading. In modern consumeristic society, people are no longer locked in their respective positions. Lifestyles can be and are improved upon constantly. Moreover, it becomes a generalized phenomena with all classes of people being subjected to a surfeit of images and signs because of advertising and being active participant in consumer culture. What is present is essentially fluidization of consumption, that is freeing up the previously static and relatively fixed spatial and temporal dimensions of social life. Also, consumption is viewed as a stage in the process of communication, that is, an act of deciphering and decoding. What is required is to be able to move from the primary stratum of meaning, which one can grasp on the basis of ordinary experience, to the stratum of secondary meanings, that is the level of meaning of what is signified. Therefore, in the modern society, there is a strong tendency for social groups to seek to classify and order their social circumstances, as well as use cultural goods as a means of demarcation and as communicators that establish boundaries between some people and build bridges with others. The process by which taste becomes a process of differentiation, leading to creation of distinction between different categories of goods and between social groups, is an ongoing one. Contemporary Western societies have been witnessing what Mike Featherstone refers to as the doubly symbolic aspects of goods. Symbolism is not only evident in the design and imagery of production and marketing processes, but the symbolic association of goods may be utilized and renegotiated to emphasize the differences in lifestyle which demarcate social relationships. This leads us to conclude that a critical aspect of a modern consumer society is the presence of an open system of stratification, with avenues of upward mobility being available to all. Rather than reflexivity adopting a lifestyle through tradition or habit, new heroes of consumer culture make lifestyle a life project and display their individuality and sense of style in particularity of assemblage of good clothes, practices, experience, appearance, and bodily dispositions. They design together a lifestyle. Consumer culture, through advertising, media, and techniques of displaying goods, is able to destabilize the original notion of use or meanings of goods and attach to them new images and signs which can summon up a whole range of associated feelings and desires. This in turn results in impulsive purchase of newer and later version of products. In fact, the commodity becomes the primary index of the social relations of the modern capitalist societies. Modern societies experience the reflexivity process at both the institutional and personal levels, that is decisive for the production and change of modern systems and modern forms of social organizations. True modernity cannot be defined only in terms of material progress. In order to be able to get a comprehensive view of whether or not a social order can be called modern, we need to view it through a large prism, that of the kind of the interpersonal relationship existing among people. Modernity confronts the individuals with a diversity of choices and in all spheres of life. Universalism, achievement, and individualism are the important ingredient of a modern social order. This affects the most personal and intimate aspect of individual, including self-identity. As the tie of the tradition are loosened and compulsiveness of repetition disappears, new opportunities are created for individuals in society. The availability of more options implies that the people have to make more decisions. Choices are not restricted to consumer items alone, but extend into all the realm of personal lives of people. This allows individuals to negotiate about conditions of all social relations, norms, and ethics that would form the basis of relations between men and women, between friend and between parent and children. Tradition no longer constitutes the basis of individuals' decisions and actions. Following from earlier discussion whereby it has been reiterated that the pace of growth of the middle class has been accelerated by changing economic policies in the post-liberalization era in India, it becomes pertinent to analyze whether the material progress in India, more so in the case of the middle class, is witnessing commensurate changes in the values and attitude of those belonging to the middle class to label them as modern. In a research study undertaken among the urban populace of the metropolitan society such as Delhi, one of the primary objectives was to precisely gauge the level of modernity existing among those belonging to the middle, upper and lower. To begin with, the class has been defined in terms of income, occupation and quality of dwelling area. Those living in a metropolitan centers such as New Delhi appear to be modern in terms of dress and eating habits. But a more profound issue that needs to be thoroughly investigated is whether a modern ethos is visible in attitudes of people at a deeper level. It is by analysis of the basis for the formation of interpersonal relationship among individuals that one can make an attempt to categorize the middle class as traditional, modern, or maybe transitional. The affluent consumers, those belonging to the upper class and upper middle class, seem to indulge in a rapid turnover of products in order to differentiate themselves from the masses as well as maintain commonalities with their own kind. For most of the super rich consumers, irrespective of age and sex, possession of the latest consumer durables as well as non-durable connotes being technologically updated and in fashion. They are positively inclined to wearing designers' labels and eating out. Acts of consumption are taken as critical indicators of a modern status by them. Even in the upper middle class, possession of durables such as air conditioners, television sets, computers, and the like are viewed as necessities in the contemporary age. Throughout the research, it was discernible that this group of respondents want to emulate the affluent in their preferences but is unable to replace the goods at the same pace as the rich do because financial constraints. Significantly, the upper middle class are also buying consumer durables of international brands in the post-liberalization era. On the whole, they appear to be fashion conscious as the affluent. In fact, apparently the upper middle class are choosing clothes and replaces for eating out that enable them to categorize themselves with the elite. On the other hand, the lower middle class respondents are unable to participate in consumer culture due to the lack of adequate resources. Although the politics of culture of consumption has still not trickled down, yet there is a definite change in their patterns of consumption. It is quite important to take note of the fact that even those belonging to the lower middle class are changing their consumption patterns in their endeavor to be categorized as modern. This has been facilitated by a number of exchange schemes. However, while purchasing durable and non-durable, emphasis is laid on the utilitarian aspect of and the price of the required product. In clothes, the younger generation are choosing cheaper imitations of the original designer labels as they are affordable. The concept of eating out is catching on. What differentiates them from the upper and upper middle classes is that they do not eat in expensive restaurants. Thus, on the whole, it can be concluded that with changing economic policies in India, the middle class is witnessing a metamorphosis in their consumption pattern, but consumer culture is still in its nascent stage in urban India. Rather than becoming an all-pervasive phenomena, consumption is still in terms of differences. Therefore, consumerism has yet to evolve. It is quite evident that material progress is taking place, albeit at a slow pace, but most importantly, it is imperative to delve into the kind of social relations those belonging to the middle class are entering into to understand whether they are modern in the strict sense of words. With regards to formation of interpersonal relations, it is found that the middle class, and Andre Batley writes, is still in the process of formation and have still not acquired a stable form. As such, they are marked by deep and pervasive antinomies, meaning contradictions, oppositions, and tensions inherent in a set of norms and values. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.